You are now tuning in to the Going North podcast with your host, best-selling author and professional speaker and member of the John Maxwell team, Dominic Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday we're going to hear the voice of a different author sharing their gifts, stories, and expertise to help you charge forward in life. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Going North podcast, we're bringing some fabulous humans from across the globe. Today's no different. Heck, who am I kidding? We got a celebrity in the building, baby. TV superstar, carpenter extraordinaire, baby. It's GNP Year 3, one of the special Hump Day editions of the podcast. And today's special guest, my goodness, this guy, founder of his own renovation design company, Hollywood TV reality personality, and award-nominated philanthropist that followed dangerous detours through alcohol, drugs, criminality, and destructive relationships. And this guy right here has been through a lot. It's just to name a couple things like the trauma of Child Protective Services moving his kids into foster care and causing him to reform, a loving father, and an active grandfather nowadays, and now best-selling author as well. Let's give it up for Mr. SC himself, not South Carolina, but Steve Cederquist. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, my friend. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm excited.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. With a big old X. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. I love it.
Woohoo! Well, the beautiful thing about introductions, they're not allowed to be 6 days long. So mind filling in any dental cavities I missed about the sensational Steve?
You know what? No, I mean, it's pretty clear. I headed down this crazy, weird path in my late 20s, and kind of, thank God I rebounded from that and was able to get myself back on the right track and get back on the, right train going in the right direction.
There we go. Because my man had one heck of an interesting childhood that was both interesting and rough at the same time, because you been through a lot with certain adults, and you went to military school at a young age and even did karate and kickboxing.
I did. Yeah. My mom put me in a karate class. Gosh, that was, I think I was like 11. I think I was 10 or 11. And that was fun. That was good. I actually continued on with that for quite a long time. And then I got out of it for a long time, and then I put myself back into it throughout the years, and still, don't do it as much anymore. I'm in a little bit of a more of a it's a different style of karate called Shotokan, which is a very smooth, defensive, but it keeps me, keeps me in decent shape, and I just appreciate the mental balance with it all.
There you go. Definitely keeping you in shape and mental shape too. So how has it been really getting back into practice? Because I read part of your book and learned you had a very important back surgery a couple years ago.
I did. I had an accident. I was working on a house, and I fell through a soft part of a roof from second floor all the way down to the first floor, and broke my neck and my back on the way down. So I was able to that took me a little time. I'm not a good patient, though. That's my problem. The doctor was like, look, I don't want you doing certain things. And I was doing events. They had me, my PR people had me doing events. So I put on you wear those white neck braces.
Yep.
The ones like you always wear after surgery. You're like, oh, I can't turn my head to the left or to the right. So I'm like, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get me a black one. So I went out on Amazon and I found a black one, and I sewed a white bow tie on it. So I went to events, and everybody thought it was a fashion statement. So it was all good. They just said, I remember I went to one event and they were giving helicopter rides, and my neurosurgeon was like, please do me a favor. You can go to the event, but don't go on the ride in the helicopter. I'm like, oh, okay. And I took his advice and I didn't go in a helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little squeamish in helicopters. You ever been in one?
Not yet, not yet. Never been in one of them. I hear they're fun.
Well, here's the deal. For one of my birthday presents, my girlfriend at the time, she's like, hey, I got you this helicopter ride. We were in Vegas. And she goes, I got you a helicopter ride with two of my other friends came. And so we all got in this helicopter. And this pilot, he's up there and he's looking left and he's looking right. And I'm like, and I'm up front. I'm next to him. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm looking for other aircraft so we don't get hit. I'm like, what? What? Well, how about if I help you look? I mean, so I'm looking left, right, like, all right, man, I think that one's over there, and I think we're cool there. You know, they're a little sketchy. I remember clearly, you know, when Kobe's helicopter went down, it was just such a horrible, heartfelt moment for me because I knew him and, you know, I knew his family and, you know, it was so gut wrenching. I was in Vegas at the time and I got the news and I didn't believe it for like the first 2 hours, but it really is true with those helicopters. You got to be really, you know, you got to know, you know, who you're flying with and what kind of credentials they have and making sure they know what's up, you know, because you don't want to get yourself in a wreck, literally, you know, with a pilot who doesn't know what he's doing.
Heck yeah, I can see that again. Like that's really the cost of not having a sure expert, like really doing the job the way they're supposed to. And definitely got to be careful of that.
Yeah, it's super important. So when I even fly now, I mean, if I'm being flown somewhere and I'll go in someone's private aircraft or whatever, I'll ask the pilot, you know, hey, how many hours you got on this flight? I mean, and he's like, oh, you know, all the answers I've gotten so far have been like, oh, I've got hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I'm like, cool. You know, I'm always afraid of one guy's like, oh man, I don't know, I've never flown one. It's my first day, you know. and then you're like, oh, I guess, well, you know what? I forgot. I gotta go. I gotta go do something else. So no, I'm just. I guess since I'm a little older now, I'm a little bit more cognizant about things than I used to be. I guess I'm overly cautious. You know, before it was like I didn't really care, right? It kind of proved it how my life went and where I ended up.
Yeah, that seems to be the thing as folks age, especially learning from my parents too. It's like as folks age, they don't have that same youthful invincibility, and then the body starts breaking in certain areas. They're like, hey, bud, I'm gonna break today. You mean break dance? Nope, just gonna break. And then you're like, oh, darn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yes, indeed. So, how have you been able to really deal with possibly some of that with really just staying as energetic as you are and still even pushing out this brand new book? So, how are you able to really keep yourself energized and full of life?
You know, I wrote the book basically because I felt that. I'll tell you a little bit of backstory with the name of the book and how the book came up. I had a sizable construction company in Orange County, and I put it up for sale in 2015. I got a great offer in 2016, very quick offer. Guy wanted to get in, close, and I think we were in escrow. We sold the business within less than 30 days. It was like 20 days. And I remember at that time when I sold the business, I sold it on December 9th, 2016. My girlfriend at the time got diagnosed with cancer right after we sold the company. And then,
Man,
yeah, stage 3 breast cancer. And then my sister got diagnosed with cancer, and she got diagnosed with terminal cancer. And so she passed away by April. We had lost my sister. And I remember I'm sitting at home and I get a phone call, my friend, and she says, hey, my mom wants to talk to you. And I said, don't know your mom. Who's your mom? She goes, well, my mom is a medium. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know about all that, but, you know, I mean, is that kind of weird? Or, you know, I didn't really know, you know what I mean? I said, well, yeah, I'll talk to her, whatever. You know, I mean, maybe she got something to say. I don't know. So she calls me and she tells me, hey, thank you for letting me talk to you. She says, I want you to know that Susan wants me to let you know that your sister Sam is no longer in pain and she's with her and she's happy.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, cool, thank you, bye. I didn't really know much about that stuff, and I was kind of like tripping out, like, well, is that wrong? I mean, I go to church on Sundays, and I've always heard that's kind of a bad thing, but I didn't know. So about 5 minutes later, I was thinking, because she asked me, she goes, do you know who Susan is? I said, no, I don't know who Susan is. About 5 minutes later, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, geez, Susan was my mom. She had died 28 years before that, and I just didn't place the name. You know what I mean? I like kind of out of sight, out of mind, not to no disrespect to my mom. I knew her as mom, So having that awakening, I called her back and I'm like, hey, thank you for calling me and telling me that was my mom. And thank you. I just, I don't know where that message comes from, but thank you. And she says, well, dude, I don't know. When you told me you were open to hear people, you got a lot of people wanting to say thank you for being involved in their life and thank you for trying to help them. And I was like tripping on that, like going, well, where did I help them? And then I remembered I used to do a program at Hoag Hospital where I would go in and talk to people in detox and people doing a program and all that. And I did that for like 15 years, once a month. I would really, I'd reach a lot of people and it was really cool to do. And then I remember the last 2 weeks I did it there, the lady came to me and she said, hey, by the way, I appreciate you for all these years. I'm going to retire. They're going to change the program up. So we're going to probably not have you come back. And I said, oh, that's cool. I appreciate the opportunity. And she goes, hey, you've reached a lot of people. And she says, that a lot of them you've reached have not survived.
Mm.
And I never, I didn't know that. And I was like, wow, really? And she goes, yeah, probably over 100. So I started putting 2 and 2 together and like thinking like, if these people were the people that were in this recovery and they died and I reached them and they wanted to thank me, maybe I should write a book to reach the people that are still alive so they can get out alive instead of having to die to get my message. So I wrote the book, and that's the kind of behind the scene name of the book, Get Out Alive. And I just felt that the book it's not about me. I didn't want to. I was very cognizant about that. I didn't feel that people wanted to hear all about Steve Cederquist. I wanted to interview some people that I'd met along the roads along the way, and I felt that people would be able to better gender identify. I have a lot of friends in different areas of their life and different faiths, religions, sexual orientations, and I wanted to be able to reach everybody. And so hence why I wrote the book.
Beautiful right there. Beautiful right there. And it's great that you're really doing that. And folks are going to be needing that now more than ever, because I feel like some folks may have turned more to drinking more than ever. And it may have gone to the borderline point of really being addicted to alcohol, among other things. And awesome job in recruiting other folks to share their stories too, because it was actually a real interesting way you organized it. Because I remember in the beginning you talked about you with your construction background where you measure twice and you cut once. And like every other chapter, there's a different
Yep.
theme based around that of measuring twice and cutting once. So what really was the thought process behind that with telling their stories along with that?
That's my contractor mentality. I always teach my kids. I got my boys that work with me, and and we always talk about that. We always talk about, like and my sons learn, and I learned the hard way. You go to cut a board, and you just like, oh yeah, you eyeball it and you cut it, and you're 2 inches too short. And you're like, geez, man, I just wasted this piece of wood or wasted something. And so what was cool about it is, I was able to use that analogy in life. It's always better to check something twice. You know what I mean? Like make your decisions, double check them, make sure that you're doing something. Like you got an opportunity to jump. You're like, step back for a second and go, all right, where am I going to jump? You know what I mean? Always, make sure you don't just go half cocked off and, do something you're going to regret. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
So that's where it came from. It's more of a builder thing. And then the imaginary dumpster, I always look at it life like a dumpster. You don't like something in your life, get rid of it. I mean, it's, you know, it's all in mindset. You don't like it, take it to the dumpster, throw it away. See you later, bye. You know, get rid of it, change it up.
Ah, yes, indeed. So darn true about that. And if only like more folks actually get that thought process and apply it to life a little more often than not, and heck, even double checking their decisions. Like it was probably been the biggest thing that really helped you to really realize that, you know what, I need to take this analogy and philosophy beyond just the construction work and apply it to my life.
You know, I think that the experience I had, you know, in jail and seeing my, and it's in the book about, you know, we're pulling out of the jail and there's Orangewood Children's Home next to the jail, and there's juvenile hall and the bus stops for construction work. I look over and there's my youngest son laying on or just sitting on this swing with his hands down, little baby, and 16 months old. And, you know, and I'm yelling at him. He comes running into the fence, and it was kind of like my garden in Gethsemane. You know, I was like thinking, you know, even the bus driver confirmed it because they let everybody off that bus. They got to the jail, the courthouse. They let everybody off the bus except for me. He pulled me aside and he grabbed me and he's like, you know, dude, I don't know what you did, but that was messed up. And seeing that child's reaction, you're a big boy, dude. You can handle yourself. But that little guy looked lost and scared and lonely. And you need to do something about that. I don't care what you have to do, but you need to get your act together and you need to get it right for that boy. And I think that in anything that we do, we have to start with ourselves and we have to start within. If you're not willing to dig deep and you're not willing to make that change, then it ain't ever going to happen. You got to want it for you first. You got to love yourself. You got to forgive yourself. You got to be like, you know what? I'm okay. I'm good. You know what I mean? And you got to learn, you know, and I think that's what we're missing in today's world is we don't have enough love, man. I mean, everybody's angry and, you know, I mean, it's like, everybody needs to calm down, you know, and like have a conversation and, you know, put your hands together and like, let's have a conversation and so that's how things get done. You know, that's how I work out things with my family, how I work out things with my friends, how I work out any issues that they're going through or employees I have. Like, let's sit down and have a conversation. And you know what? And I'll tell them straight out, family included or whatever. I may not say what you want to hear. I'm not a bakery. I ain't going to sugarcoat anything, but I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be legit with you. And, you know, and I think that people come to expect that from me. They know that when they come to me, I'm not going to give you a bunch of, you know, butter toast, you know, like, oh yeah, here you go. You know, it's like, no, dude, what's up? Talk to me. What's up? What's going on? Let's lay it out and let's go through it. And then, you know, now it's time to roll up your sleeves, get on up, dust yourself off, stop the pity party. Let's figure this out. And that's how I run my life. That's how I run it every day. That's how I run it with my kids, my grandkids, everybody. My daughter just went through a horrendous divorce, you know, with a crazy ex-husband. And, you know, I mean, I had a little conversation with him, you know, hands in my pockets kind of thing. And like, hey, dude, you just need to calm yourself, you know? And, you know, you got to understand. And, you know, and I think you come at somebody with that, you know, not all hostile and, you know, your arms up and the posture of like, what's up? I think you get a lot better response, you know, with people, because if you come with a non-defensive posture, I think you're going to get more accomplished than being all puffed up. I think you understand what I mean, right? About that?
Oh yeah, and heck, even probably goes with martial arts is really just the whole self-defense and really focusing really on the moment and being with that moment and just really straight up talking to people as opposed to trying to really bully people nowadays. 'Cause I feel like that's what people are really doing nowadays.
Well, I work out with some pretty amazing people, and I actually work out with a couple world champions. And one's going to be fighting again in October, Rafael dos Santos, you know, former middleweight champion of the world of MMA. And, you know, we talk a lot about this, about discipline, and our senseis are very, you know, it's a mindset, you know, and you got to have the right mindset with anything you do, whether that be work, your family, you have to get your priorities in line. You have to have the right mindset to make those positive changes in your life. Ain't nobody gonna, I tell them, it's funny, I just talked to my son the other day, we were talking about money. And he's like, oh, I want this and that. I said, well, dude, let me just give you a little cold hard fact here. You ain't gonna be sitting at home and you're not gonna hear this. And he's like, what's that? I go, that's the guy from the lottery department with a lottery check. It ain't gonna happen, dude. No, it ain't. You want it, you got to go make it for yourself. You have to manifest it. You have to hard work, and you have to dedicate, yourself to it, and be 100% and give 100%. Can't expect anybody to give you more than 100%. But if you're giving 50, 60, well, you're going to get 50, 60 back. That's what you're going to get.
Yeah, you can say that again because it's so darn true, and it's really so true in life. It's like the more you put in, the more you get out of it, especially if it's in like the metaphorical right soil.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to be humble. We got to be forgiving, and like it goes back to when you're in that situation, you have to learn to say, you know what, I forgive myself. I messed up. That was one of the hardest things for me because I was in jail and I was getting these cards, these hand colored cards for my kids and letters and Daddy, we love you and we miss you. And I'm like, man, why? Why do you love me? Why do you miss me after what I did to you? And so that was really hard, to kind of accept that. But once I was able to process that and understand that was part of my reckoning, and I was able to forgive myself, and then I started loving myself. And once I was able to do that, I was able to share love, but if you can't forgive and you can't love yourself, you can't be expected to forgive others on that side of it, and you can't expect to love others.
Amen to that because it's so darn true. And I feel like that's probably the reason why self-love is preached so much nowadays.
It's important. I'm telling you, it needs to be preached more. With the craziness we got going on, all these cities and stuff, I would, it's weird because I would love to just like have a conversation, go in and just be like, dude, what are you guys doing, man? This is getting nowhere. You're getting folks angry. You're getting, it's just people getting killed now. And it's like, man, this is not how it's supposed to be. So I don't know. Coming out from a perspective of being in that person who's been angry, been mad, been that angry, wanted to fight everybody and be like that, to being at peace, it's like you want to be able to share that with everybody you can. So that's, before all this crazy stuff happened in the world, I was already, halfway deep in the book anyway. And, so I just decided, I thought, I literally had this book and I was like, this book, we have to get this book out now. People are hurting right now. We're hurting. They were hurting from COVID, before, people taking their lives and thinking that life was over. And I don't know, man, I just want to give hope, strength, and encouragement to people. That's my goal. That's what I do. And I feel if I reach one person, the whole experience of this book is totally worth it to me.
Beautiful right there. Beautiful right there. Because you're so right. Folks are going to need that help. So since you're on this wonderful media tour of promoting the good word of self-love and helping folks to really overcome the demons, not even writing their own eulogy for their lives, like, was there a question you wish you'd be asked more often?
Yeah, I wish I would get asked more. How do I forgive myself? How do I love myself? And the people that do ask the question, I got the answer. I really do for you. It's getting out of your own head and being of service and being a helper to people. If you can do that, your problems seem a little bit less surmountable, if that makes sense. They don't feel as overwhelming and big in your head. They are definitely a lot more manageable. And then you go home and go, man, I thought my stuff was messed up. Geez, man, that poor fella or that poor lady, man. Like I was talking to one of my best friends over the weekend. He just lost his 13-year-old son. You know what I mean? He
Oh
had a
man.
skateboarding accident. 13 years old, and he's like,
Oh,
instead of thinking about when my son's going to go to school, I'm thinking about we're trying to find where we're going to get a plot, where we're going to bury him. And I'm thinking, man, I thought maybe my problem was, you know what I mean? I mean, it really helps you keep it in perspective of like, hey, I need to keep things in perspective here. So when I'm able to reach out and talk to somebody and help them through a situation like that, it's all rewarding to me. I feel that it's the I can't even describe it. It's the best feeling in the world.
you can say that again, especially with sad moments like that when it's someone that is in your immediate network. It's definitely a sad time, and especially this time, it's never a good time to lose anybody, but especially now, this is definitely not the time to lose anyone.
No, no, not at all.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, you mentioned the power of really service. So, what's probably we have a lot of folks out there who may be on the service leadership side of the game where they're really at the point where they may be feeling burnt out. And I'm pretty sure you may have some experience with that with your businesses over the years and helping all these folks overcome some of the trials of life and still keeping their metaphorical well full. So, what's really helped you to keep going when it comes to really being of service to others?
I'll recommend when you get to that point where people get to that point and they're like, oh, I'm burnt out or I don't know, blah, blah. Here's the deal. There's a video on GoCast and it's called How to Love People Where They Are. And you watch that. It's by Shaz Khan. And you watch that video, and if that video doesn't resonate in your life and change your life, then you need to really get some spiritual, you really you really need to get into it, man. Because if you get to that point where you get so jaded, where you're just like you need to be of service of others, and you need to help others, and you need to remember what helped you and where you came from. I think a lot of times what we do is we forget where we come from. We get complacent, and we get like I get a little burnout doing this. It's like, really, how bad was it before? When you came in, when you started getting help or whatever, you know what I mean? Who was that one person? Who's that why? Why are you where you're at today? Oh yeah, Bob over there or Karen or somebody, hey, they reached out to me and they helped me change my life. Well, there you go. So you got to remember that and go like, hey, you know what? It's not about me anymore. It's about helping others. Because I think what happens is when you go and you put yourself of service of others and you want to be a helper and you have that service mentality, you don't think about it as a perspective of like, oh, I'm burnt out now. You become more grateful. And you're like, oh man, yeah, now, yep. I remember that. I remember why. Yeah, it's funny because I just had the same conversation with Dr. Levi Harrison. He's a really amazing orthopedic surgeon, good friend of mine. And Levi and I, we talk all the time, and we were talking about like gratitude and like, and just how it's so important. I mean, I am so grateful. I mean, I wake up every day with two miracles near my eyes. I wake up and I open up like, wow, and I can see it. I'm alive another day to make it right and to do these things. And what's really cool about it, I get to talk to people like you. I get to people come to me and I pick up the phone and like, because I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and people email me or text me or call me, and I'm like, what's up? And I'll talk to them. I'm not too busy. I'm not too busy for the guy in front of the liquor store who's laying down, who's down and out. I mean, I'm no better than him. Neither are you. Nobody is. We're just lucky we're not at that point anymore, or we're not him or her. You know what I mean? I mean, like, we're never too better. We're not better than anybody. And we just got to remember that. We got to remember, when you see somebody who's not in your space and not in your thing, just remember them. Be like, hey, I bet before you judge them, just be like, man, I wonder what happened to them, or I wonder if, hope they're going to be okay. A little prayer for them as you drive by, like, hey, man, hope things are going to work out. You know what I mean? And you move on, but, I do that in LA. I was up in LA yesterday or 2 days ago, Saturday. And I was up there. I was driving through some pretty bad areas to get where I was going. I just thought of those people, man. I was like, man, it's so sad. I'd love to get out and talk to them and be part of a solution to try to help them. And And I met with Eric Garcetti right before COVID, a couple months before COVID hit. And we were just kind of getting on a conversation about it, but obviously COVID hit and everybody's kind of preoccupied with COVID right now, but we'll pick up the conversation again. And I know we will, because I just emailed him the other day.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about. Powerful words right there, and it's so darn true. It's like never be too busy to really help out the person next to you if they're, especially in front of a liquor store and they're down and out and they're really feeling down, because a lot of folks are at that point right now, and it's great that you have that mindset, and the mindset we all should really have is to have a true heart-centered mindset right there to help others out.
Yep.
Well, alrighty. Coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is, if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in 2020 with all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would have bought a heck of a lot more real estate.
There you go.
Who would have known, man? It would have gone up like tenfold. No, I think I would have just been a little bit more, loving and been there a lot more for my kids and just learned to, I wish I had the mindset now, then that I have now. It would have been a lot different, but like they say, everything happens for a reason and a purpose. So I have to believe that I had to go through those trials and tribulations. And I think that my calling is to help. And so I dedicate myself to wanting to help others. And that's what I want to do. So, like I said, I'm good. If it would have been great, 25, that's good. But obviously God had another plan.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about. Well, alrighty. So for those who want to keep in magical contact with the sensational superstar Steve himself, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
Smoke signals from old Indian style. Smoke signals. Okay, 3 of them tells me you want to talk right now. No, I'm easy to get a hold of. You can just reach out on any social media platform in my name, Steve Cederquist, and it's with a C. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and you can email me at my name, steve.cederquist@gmail. Any which way. You got a question, concern, you want my book, and I look at it like this too. If you want my book and you can't afford it, you hit me up, private message me, what's up? I'll make sure you get a copy.
Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it. The mighty Steve Cederquist, baby. Pick up a copy or 5,000 of his book and get out this life alive in a new way, folks. That's right. That's right, indeed. So any parting words to folks still listening, Steve?
You know what? Don't ever give up. Always remember you're loved and you're cared for, and you need to want to get that back in your life and to love people, and you need to love yourself. And don't ever forget that you are loved. So don't give up. Truly, truly don't give up on yourself. Life's too short.
How's it going, you showstopper? It's great that you enjoyed this episode of the Going North podcast. If you really enjoyed it, be sure to shoot the guest an email or head over to the social media pages and leave them a nice response that you heard them on the Going North podcast, so that way they can continue to be inspired to do great things.